Actually, finally, finally, what are the opportunities where we can join hands and collaborate with the Chinese investors and Chinese partners to take the renewable energy initiative forward? So I think every one of us from Pakistan and China knows that the government of Pakistan commitment is very strong to clean, affordable, sustainable, and green energy. The SDG 7 goals and the sustainable energy for all and the commitment to the carbon neutrality, all these are the things on which government of Pakistan is fully committed, and working are being done actually to achieve those targets. Currently, what we have, it is 7% of renewable energy in the overall grid. We have around 40,000 installed capacity, and we just have renewable energy 7%, which is 2,600 megawatt only. So I think this is a gigantic task which government has basically targeted. Our indicative generation expansion plan, which till 2031, that provides to take this renewable energy from 7% to actually, if we include hydro, also to 62%. So currently it is around 26% hydro, and 7% is the wind, solar, and bagasse project, which is renewable energy. So taking this 33% to 62% by 2031, this is a gigantic target. And for that, government of Pakistan has introduced many schemes, and we in AEDB and in the Power Division and Ministry of Energy are working actually very hard to achieve these targets. In this context, if we look at the IGCEP, as I told, that there is around 14,000 megawatt of additional wind and solar projects which are to be installed till 2031. And in addition to that, if we look at the general scenario, you will be aware that the AEDB, NEPRA, and Government of Pakistan started a rooftop solar net metering initiative in 2015, on which AEDB actually issued the certification regulation in 2015-18 and improved in 2021. Under that scheme, these small solar power projects of 5, 10, 15 megawatt, they have accumulated about 862 megawatts so far, and 51,000 customers have actually opted for this scheme. So that is basically telling that how popular the solar energy is coming in Pakistan. And it is actually, I think, is a blessing that when Pakistan is trying to take a leap forward in the renewable energy, this has become the one of the cheapest, rather the cheapest resource in the power generation. Pakistan is blessed with the huge solar and wind potential, out of which we have not been able to utilize iota of that so far. So I think if we look at the Chinese investment, the CPAC, which is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which is the flagship initiative of Belt and Road Initiative of the government of China. So far, we have a portfolio of 13,048 megawatt in CPAC, which is a joint collaboration between the Pakistan and the Chinese companies and both the governments. In this 13,048 megawatt, there is a combination of coal projects, hydropower projects, solar and wind projects. But the share of the hydro, solar, and wind is relatively small. We have 3,500 megawatt of hydropower projects, 1,000 megawatt of solar projects, and 400 megawatt of wind power projects. So far, the completed and under construction projects have attracted a large amount of investment, which is over 16 billion US dollar. Overall active portfolio is over 23 billion US dollar. So this is I would say is a quantum leap in terms of investment in the power sector by the Chinese companies. And going forward, what government has announced at the end of the last year, that is the fast track solar initiative, under which 3 schemes has been introduced. First is the pure substitution of the fossil fuel, expensive imported fossil fuel, under which we plan to bring in 6,000 megawatt of solar PV projects, which will be pure substitution. Again, I'm repeating, it will be pure substitution of the imported fossil fuel. So that is the first initiative, under which the first project of 600 megawatt was advertised in February this year, and the closing date for submission of bid is the 8th of May. So far, we have been able to receive good response in terms of selling the RFP for these projects, this project. Second initiative is smaller power projects on 11 kV of 1 to 4 megawatt. This will actually ease up the situation of lower voltage and technical stability of the power supply in this smaller voltage 11 kV level. The third one is solarization of public sector building. Government has decided that all the federal government-owned buildings throughout the country will be solarized with the rooftop net metering system. On that, working has already started. So these are the three key initiatives. In addition to that, if you are familiar, there is a backlog of LOIs which have been issued by the various provinces, and it is over 100 LOI. So under this is called the category 3 projects, on which we are planning to, in next couple of months, we're planning to hold the bidding for these projects. We're expecting that around 500 megawatt of wind power projects and 800 megawatt of solar projects will be offered for the bidding. So this is the general scheme of the things on which we are working. For the Chinese side, we are actually asking that whoever, if the Chinese companies are winner in this 600 megawatt project which has been offered for bidding, then it is likely that this project will be included in the CPAC framework agreement, where we have around 4,000 megawatt of room for adding new projects. The original projects were 17,000 megawatt under the CPAC framework, but we dropped over 4,000 megawatt imported coal projects. So we have room of 4,000 megawatt to add new projects. And in this, preference is being given to the hydro, solar, and wind power projects, mainly the RE projects. So this is the area I believe there where Chinese investor could participate. Similarly, in terms of manufacturing the RE equipment, since we are targeting a large number of solar PV projects, there is a potential for setting up the solar panel assembly and manufacturing unit in Pakistan. So that is another opportunity where we can work with the Chinese companies together. And of course, they can participate in the bidding process of the buildings and these smaller power projects also. One thing which we have distinctly done to encourage this fuel substitution and solar PV initiative, that we understand that the Chinese companies which have invested in Pakistan and the projects which are in operation currently, they are facing some problem of backlog of payments. There are outstanding payments and delayed payments. So in order to provide a special incentive to the renewable energy, in this case, the government has given a framework where these solar PV projects will not be standing in the queue for the payments with the other projects. So they have a priority payment mechanism. Whatever collection our distribution companies make, on that collection, the first right will be of these solar PV projects, which will be set up under this fuel substitution initiative. So this is a very liquid and reliable mechanism, which will actually give them a lot of comfort to the investors in these projects and lenders to these projects, that their payment will not be delayed. On top of that, our already available government guarantee, sovereign guarantee for payment is also there. So with these things, another initiative which AEDB and Engineering Development Board has taken together, we have drafted a policy for local manufacturing and assembly of solar equipment, on which two stakeholder consultation was done, and now it is in the approval process. We are expecting that maybe in next few weeks that policy will also be approved. So this policy is offering incentive for local setting up of these manufacturing and assembly units. With this, I stop here. So this is the general picture that what we are trying to do in the AEDB in the government of Pakistan to accelerate the renewable energy induction into the grid. And obviously, apart from the environmental and climate change benefits, it is in fact the Pakistan's economic compulsion also, because of very high prices of the imported fuel. So this is actually, from all the perspective, this is a win-win initiative. And we are working hard to achieve these targets. We appreciate this, obviously, the organizers for arranging this webinar, which is, I would say, very timely, because we are at the crossroad of energy transition in Pakistan. And let's hope working together, we'll be able to achieve these targets. But again, the message which I give on all the forums, that these type of initiatives and type of targets cannot be met by the government alone. So we need to work hand in hand with the private sector. All the investment and most of the investment will be coming from the private sector investors and the lenders. So with this, I again thank you, the organizers, for giving me this opportunities. And I hope that the discussion and recommendation coming out of this webinar will be really helpful in boosting Chinese investment in the renewable energy projects in Pakistan. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shah. Thank you for sharing your valuable insights and pointing out the opportunities that exist in on-grid project development and as well as within the manufacturing facilities, as you mentioned. We're glad to hear that. And so on just that end, I just wanted to mention also that since you also talked about the solar fast track guidelines. So Renewables First also is trying taking some initiatives on streamlining the whole project development processes for renewable energy in Pakistan. So on that end, we also launched last month an on-grid renewable energy guidebook, which is actually aimed at assisting the private sector companies in navigating through the whole process, and gives a comprehensive information on regulatory frameworks, the project development processes, investment opportunities in Pakistan's renewable energy landscape. And I think our coordinator will be sharing the link for that guidebook into the chat box as well for our attendees to actually access the guidebook, which is online on our website. So thank you, Shasa, once again. Moving on to our panel discussion session. We are honored to have esteemed panelists from the private sector who will share their experience and perspectives on the topic. They will also highlight their assessment of the future outlook of the renewable energy market in the country and discuss the barriers to redirecting Chinese investment towards renewable energy. Our panelist includes Mr. Xiao Hui Ma, General Manager of Menat region at Goldwind, Pakistan, Mr. Nurul Arifin Zuberi, he is Senior Advisor at China Three Gorges South Asia Investment Limited, and Ms. Tara Uzra Daud. She is the Chairperson of Ladies Fund Energy and founder of 786 Investment Limited. Thank you all for joining us. We are excited to hear about your insights and ideas on accelerating Chinese investment within Pakistan's energy section. Before I put forth any questions to panelists, just wanted to reiterate our house rules for our panelists and attendees. If you have any questions, you can put it into the Q&A chat box, and we will be taking question answers for our panelists at the end of the session. And we'll have 3 rounds with our panelists regarding the questions regarding barriers and opportunities. So focusing on the barriers, let me just start with Mr. Zuberi Saab. So you have extensive experience in Pakistan's RE market. Could you please share your insights on the current outlook of the RE market in the country, and particularly what are the key pain points and challenges that are faced by the private sector companies? Because we listen to a lot about issues pertaining to land acquisitions or permit issues and similar project delays and more. So if you can highlight those challenges and focus a little bit more about how these risks can be mitigated.
Thank you, Mr. Basit Saab. Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir, you are loud and clear.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me congratulate the Renewable Energy First for arranging this important webinar. It is surely a very timely webinar, as Pakistan is looking forward for the projects on renewable energy based projects. Now, let me first of all give you the outlook of the Pakistan renewable energy sector. You know, God has blessed Pakistan with the tremendous energy resources. Pakistan has a wind potential of around 346,000 megawatts. Solar power potential is around 2.9 million megawatts, and hydro potential is more than 60,000 megawatts. As per IGSAP 2022-31 approved by NEPRA, the total installed generation capacity is in June 2022 was around 37,000 megawatts, which is around 33% of the renewable energy. IGSAP and which suggests that by year 2031, total generation will be around 68,000 megawatts, out of which around renewables will be around 62% Yes. And presently, the solar and wind projects in Pakistan are being implemented in Pakistan by private sector under GOP Renewable Energy Policy 2029, which provides various lucrative incentives. Well-experienced institutional framework is in the form of the Private Power Infrastructure Board, and Alternate Energy Development Board is already in place to provide one window facility to private sector investment. So future outlook of the renewable powers projects in Pakistan is quite encouraging, as Pakistan has tremendous renewable energy potential and lucrative incentives are being provided by the GOP to renewable energy projects investors through Power Policy 2002, Renewable Energy Policy 2019, and purpose-built institution, well-experienced institution which is already in place to look after the interest of the investors through one window facility operation to fully facilitate the investor. China is a world leader in the development of renewable energy projects, having financial and technical strength to undertake renewable energy projects of any capacity. Hence, the Chinese investors are well positioned to develop renewable energy projects in Pakistan, taking benefits of the concession and incentive provided by the GOP for renewable energy projects in order to fully harness the tremendous untapped renewable energy resources available in Pakistan through exploitation of the latest RE technologies, which would help lower cost of electricity, achieve greater energy security, and reduce greenhouse gases. GOP has set a target to increase the share of renewable energy of up to 30% of the total capacity, which would require a major upscale of solar and wind power generation in Pakistan. And realization of this targets, I expect Chinese investors should play an important major role. Now, although the future outlook is good for the renewable energy projects, but investors are facing some challenges. Some of the challenges are such as barrier to the development of renewable energy projects in Pakistan due to various reasons, the most important of which is a circular debt. Delays in the payments for power purchaser, difficulties in conversion of Pakistan rupees to dollars by State Bank of Pakistan, unnecessary power curtailments for wind power projects, changes in the policies announced by government from time to time, difficulties in land acquisition, delay in the construction of the transmission lines, lack of coordination between federal and the provincial government. There are some security issues also, and there is a lack of integrated approach. Now, the challenges faced by the investors which are already operating renewable energy projects in Pakistan need to be addressed before encouraging and attracting new investors for developing new renewable energy projects in Pakistan by mitigating some risk and challenges by adopting some measures, which could be like purpose-built institutions such as PPIB and ADB strengthened and encouraged to provide real one-window facility to investors. Private power policy, once announced, should not be changed abruptly. GOP entities should take very quick decisions on the issues related to the IPPs. There should be well coordination between the federal and the provincial government. Now, process of the land acquisition be made simpler by the GOP and various steps be made time-bound. RE projects should adopt adequate security measures to protect their interest and staff from the potential threats with full support of GOP. The government should take urgent steps to resolve the circular debt in the power sector by improving governance, reducing losses, increasing collection, rationalization, tariff. RE project companies should work closely with government agencies and regulator to ensure that all necessary approvals are placed. Now, private sector companies can also consider joining hands with experienced developers or investors like China 3 Gorges, Asian Investment Limited, which have a track record of successfully developing and financing renewable projects in Pakistan. This can help to mitigate some of the risks and challenges associated with the developing renewable energy projects in Pakistan. Such companies also can take part in divestment of existing renewable energy projects in Pakistan to reduce the risk profile of foreign investors in order to enable them to invest in more renewable energy projects. In a nutshell, while the renewable energy market in Pakistan is growing rapidly, private sector companies investing in renewable energy projects in the country still face some challenges and risks. Mitigating these risks and challenges requires careful planning, effective stakeholders engagement, and close collaboration with the relevant government agencies and other key stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Zubairi sir, for highlighting quite comprehensively the challenges that exist today and a few of the solutions that you have proposed as well. Mr. Ma, I'll come to you next. So you have an experience of working in Pakistan market, and Goldwind being one of the biggest share within the wind industry as well. How do you map out your journey from inception to the current phase? Particularly if you can highlight the challenges that you have faced as a Chinese investor in this sector.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's it. And first, thank you very much for the invitation by Renewable First for this webinar. I think this is a very important webinar for the industry. And thank you for Mr. Shaji Mirza. And I think first I would like to give a brief introduction about Goldwind, both in global and in Pakistan RE market. Goldwind is a company, our headquarters is based in Beijing in China. We are a company established in 1998. And Goldwind is a company in the wind OEM, ranked at top 3 in the last 10 years globally. And per the Bloomberg's report of last year, 2022, Goldwind ranked at first in the world. We installed 12.7 gigawatts of wind turbine last year. And actually by 15th April, just last week, Goldwind accumulated installed capacity has reached 100 gigawatt. So this is a key milestone for us. And we have installed this 100 gigawatt wind turbines in 33 countries in the world. Now I will come to your question about the journey of Goldwind in Pakistan. Actually, the journey was quite good and smooth. More than 10 years, Goldwind is playing an important role in Pakistan wind market. We entered into Pakistan market at 2023. Sorry? So
yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Ma.
Okay, that's fine. Yes, and actually, after the 10 years working in Pakistan, Goldwind, till now, Goldwind has had 9 projects operating in the market. And these projects consist of around 300 units of wind turbine. The accumulated capacity is around 500 megawatt. So Goldwind take 26% of marketing share in Pakistan market. To promote localization and give comfort and trust to our customer, Goldwind has formed professional teams composed of over 50 local employees for business development, operation, and maintenance service in this market. Overall, our journey in Pakistan was quite good, but we still have few concerns I would like to mention. The first one is about the spare parts import issue. For last year, from April 2022 to date, we are facing a big challenge about spare parts import. As per current economic situation of the country, in the first phase, government banned all the imports for a few months. And after lifting the ban, government allowed essential products to import. We would like to know about this is very challenge. This challenge, if you cannot import spare parts, will be very difficult to fulfill our promise to our clients. This challenge is, is not only for us, it is for government as well, because if we or other OEM will not have spare parts at site, it means supply of, it's around 1,800 megawatt wind turbine operating right now in Pakistan. So all of these wind turbines will have problem even be stopped. This is a loss not only for OEM, it's for developer, for government. I think it can affect new investment. And as we know, the current situation in the country is not stable, but there are many solutions, I think. For example, we can choose deferred payment, in which government can allow us to import our spare parts. And we can also make a foreign transaction by parts or after half a year, something like this. So I just want to raise these concerns through this platform that all the developers, government entities belongs to power sector. Please kindly raise this concern to the management of the country, that please think about this issue. It is equally important for all of us and the country's IE development. This is my first concern. And the second concern is about committed projects. There are 2 committed projects in pipeline for wind, actually, which are stuck at a different stage. For example, feasibility study approval from ADB and LPM approval from NEPRA. And after that, tariff will be final stage. We hope NEPRA will issue a reasonable tariff, so which can help developers to invest for these projects. As you know, as a cost of material and shipping, etc., increased since 3 years ago, when we have last round of projects. I mean, the projects right now, the cost compared with last rounds, cost is increased. So if these projects will get reasonable tariff, I think it will be a very good step forward to the target RE market. So it means a growth of the IE energy in this country. And the third concern is about curtailment, because although we are not an investor, we are not wind farm owner, but we also know this by our clients. The client can have significant impact on the economic viability of wind projects in the country. And the growth of renewable energy will be also affected. So I think efforts must be made to address the factors contributing to curtailment, such as improving transmission infrastructure, grid stability, and demand management, etc. So need to ensure that wind power projects can operate at full capacity and deliver clean energy to the grid. Thank you, that's it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ma. And you highlighted it correctly. I think we need to focus upon the challenges that exist for the operation of current power plants as well, on the top of just, removing the barriers for the future generation and capacity additions. Thank you for pointing that out. Ms. Tara, I would come to you next. You have experience of partnering with China on Hydro China Daud Wind Power Project. So I would love to know more about your experience of working in this cross-border partnership with Chinese, particularly highlighting the challenges that you think that exist along the way. And also, if you can just focus a little bit upon how these partnerships can pave way for the future projects, particularly as we plan to procure large capacity additions in excess of 10 gigawatt in coming 10 years as per IG said.
So for us, the experience working on China Dowd wind power, which is Pakistan's first CPEC project in this sector, was a wonderful and is a wonderful experience working with the Chinese. It's something that we're very proud and excited to have done, and is a very professional relationship. So that's the background to that. Now for our new project, and that project was a 50 megawatt wind power plant in Garo. For our next project, which is a 50 megawatt solar plant, Ladies Fund Energy, that is being headed as well as in senior positions by women in Garo as well. It's a very interesting dynamic because the investment climate is very different. So now that we're approaching the project, and I'm taking the lead here in China Dowd wind power, that was my family's project, and my father took the lead and I was helping him, but now here I'm in the complete lead. We're looking at everything from an investor and developmental point of view, and that's more important from an investment point of view than who we source or who we partner with. So when you look at things commercially, it's always very important to look at the bottom line. You have to look at how much your IRR is going to be, and you're also going to look at speed to entry. In this process of making this project, there has been so many regulatory changes, policy changes, requirement changes, and things are becoming harder and harder. Now, it took my father 12 years to put together China Dowd wind power, so I'm not saying it was easy in the past, but now that it's just about living and breathing it on my shoulders, I must say it's quite sad how many delays and obstacles come through because of unnecessary reasons. So this is where we feel that if we want more Chinese collaborations and partnership, the key is to have that CPEC strengthened and ways that policies are made to make it easier, one, for us to do business, two, for having Chinese partnerships, there should be incentives that would make it easier and easier. Because, for example, if we're talking to American investors, they might not always be keen that we have other Chinese partners. So then the Chinese side has to have really good incentives in place. In terms of the regulatory framework, it's very important that, like, for example, we're interested in cost plus tariff. Continually, the policies are making it more challenging to qualify for that. If instead the policies made it easier to qualify for that, that would be a wonderful thing. When I talk about speed to entry, for example, we did this project a year ago. We had a perfectly acceptable country rating, currency standing, no LC issue. Already now, all these things have changed. So opportunities need to be seized as quickly as possible. And so whatever ways that the Chinese government, the Chinese companies can work closely with the Pakistani government and the Pakistani companies to enable us to get quicker speed to business with the best possible pricing and an ease of getting equipment across, because the LC issue is not going away. So these are the factors that we think of very strongly. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tara, for quite comprehensively going through the challenges, as you mentioned, quite a struggle that you also shared with us. Thank you for sharing that. So we have covered quite a bit challenges identified during these first round, but I would like to now focus a little bit more on the opportunity side. So Zuberi Saab, I have, so what we see generally here in Pakistan with most of the engagement between Chinese and Pakistan and the renewable energy and the overall in the energy sector are mostly in the G2G arrangements. But we understand that the collaboration between private sector from both countries, it is kind of crucial for a competitive and efficient RE markets. So how do you think we can foster such partnerships? And if you could focus on specific areas of collaboration, such as joint venture or technology transfer, whichever holds the most promise.
Thank you, Basisa. Let me first of all tell you that the CPEC agreement, was signed between the government of China and basically Pakistan. And that agreement basically clearly spells out that, and that agreement actually clearly spells out that in that agreement, the power projects were developed and implemented by the private sector. And in the CPEC framework, so far 6,000 megawatts of private power projects have been commissioned, out of which 20 megawatts are renewable, and around 7,000 megawatts of projects in private sector are at various stages of development. Out of these, 3,408 megawatts of projects are renewable energy projects. Now, as China is the world leader in the development of renewable energy projects, having financial and technical strength to undertake large-size energy investments, and Chinese investors are well positioned to develop renewable energy projects. I think there needs to be chalked down some strategies for the development of the renewable energy projects. And that strategies could be in the interest of both. For example, creating a platform or a forum for a dialogue exchange between Chinese and Pakistan renewable energy companies, associations, experts, providing incentive supports for joint ventures or technology transfers between Chinese and Pakistan renewable energy companies. This could include tax breaks, subsidies, etc., promoting awareness for renewable energy projects among public sector and private sector stakeholders. Now, some specific areas for the collaboration, maybe like for solar energy, as Pakistan has tremendous potential for generating solar energy, so as it receives high levels of solar radiation throughout the country. So hence, the lesson, and China is the world leader in the manufacturing of the solar panels and allied equipment. Hence, we should learn lessons from Chinese experience. Government of Pakistan, is encouraging local manufacturing for solar PV and allied equipment in Pakistan. Engineering Development Board of Pakistan and AEDB has already prepared a draft solar PV panel and allied equipment manufacturing policy. Furthermore, special economic zones are being developed under CPEC, having incentives for investors for developing industries. Chinese manufacturers of solar panels and related equipment should take advantage of these incentives and join hands with local investors for development solar panel manufacturing facilities in special economic zones under development. Chinese solar PV companies could have a partnership with Pakistan counterparts to develop large-scale solar farms or distributed solar systems in Pakistan, as well as transfer of technologies. As you know, Pakistan has also abundant wind resources, especially along its coastal belts in Sindh and Balochistan. According to the ADB, the total wind potential in Pakistan is around 346,000 megawatts. China is again a world leader in wind power market with more than 210 gigawatt of installed capacity. Chinese wind turbine manufacturers and developers could collaborate with Pakistan counterparts to develop wind farms and hybrid. The other thing is that the trade fairs or exhibitions can serve a platform for private sector companies for both countries to showcase their products and services and explore potential business opportunities. Joint ventures can be an effective way for Chinese and Pakistan companies to collaborate on renewable energy projects. The other thing is that the capacity building is also essential for developing the skilled workforce in Pakistan renewable energy sector, collaboration on training and development programs can help to build the necessary technical and managerial expertise. Policy coordination between the government of China and Pakistan can also help to facilitate private sector collaboration in renewable energy projects. So overall, the partnership between private companies from China and Pakistan is essential for developing a competitive and efficient renewable energy market in Pakistan. Collaboration on joint venture, technology transfer, capacity building, and policy coordination can help to create favorable environment for such partnership and contribute to Pakistan energy transition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zuberi Sab. And definitely, as you mentioned, supply chain manufacturing is one area that is a potential for collaboration. And from that end, Pakistan, had this first initiative and venture by Goldwind. Mr. Ma, could you also highlight your experience of, launching this solution factory that Goldwind launched in Sindh last year, which has been considered a significant step towards localization of the overall wind value chain in Pakistan? And overall, how do you see the market outlook for this factory and other similar localization ventures in the future?
Thank you, Basit, and thank you, Mr. Zubari. Goldwind has established our solution factory last year, which is a very important step for us to be localized in Pakistan market. So I would like to give you a brief account about Goldwind Solution Factory and how it is going to benefit the wind energy sector of Pakistan. It is a matter of fact that Pakistan wind sector is faced with multiple challenges, including technology transfer, shipping, transportation cost, time, and lack of technical trainings for local engineers. The idea behind this Goldwind Solution Factory is to provide our valuable customers and wind sector with technical solutions of their problem at the doorstep. Being one of the leading contributors in the industry in Pakistan, Goldwind management realized that there is a great need of establishing a technical solution center to address the above challenges I mentioned and to fulfill this market needs. Goldwind Solution Factory is a solution to many problems. It is a platform for technical training for local employee. As I mentioned just now, we have had more than 50 employees, local employees working in Goldwind Pakistan. We provide highly certified international trainers to our employee. And Goldwind Solution Factory is also a regional warehouse center. It's a regional control center, repairing center, testing platform. And actually, we can even expand the function based on this solution factory. So the technical training center will improve the technical skills of the local team. Goldwind, we always consider our internationalization as localization. So we think local contact is is available in our regional warehouse. We can do testing, we can do simulate on our test platform. So this will improve the efficiency and the quality of our work. This is something you never see in Pakistan, but right now you can see all of this in Goldwind Solution Factory in Karachi. Through this regional control center, we can also monitor the wind farms remotely. So Goldwind Solution Factory, so the services, we provide various of services, and these services will give our customer multiple ways to enhance their wind farms operation. And this is also very important to provide skilled local employees by the solution factory. And you know, Goldwind Pakistan employer right now is not only serve wind farms in Pakistan. Actually, we have our Pakistan colleges has right now working in different countries in the world, like Dubai, Turkey, Sri Lanka. We consider this platform as a training center and as our human resource center. We not only looking at this market, but also have talent here and service for other markets surrounding. And in the future, actually, we also have an idea. We would like to make a good relationship with local universities to promote renewable energy importance. And we will be very happy as well to teach them skills through our solution factories. Thank you, Basit.
Thank you, Mr. Ma. And as you mentioned, your initiative of collaborating with the local university, that's great as well. And I think the part of inclusivity and social development is something that's mandatory that needs to come with the renewables first, renewable energy. So on that end, Ms. Tara, so you have been working towards inclusive RE development sector. Particularly, you shared your experience about this new initiative that you are spearheading that is mostly women-led, as you shared earlier as well. So how do you feel, if you can just share your plans and tell me more about how you're working towards gender inclusivity in RE projects in Pakistan? What are the particular spaces that you see where Pakistan and the government and the other stakeholders can work more towards having greater gender inclusiveness and other community-led initiatives as well?
Thank you so much, Basit. We have been studying the market quite a bit, and although there's many dynamic, talented women in renewables, they aren't generally in senior positions or C-level. And not just in Pakistan, there is a struggle or shortage in the region. And often that's due to lack of site experience. So one of the things we built into our model is that the women will be living on site for the first time in Pakistan's history. In fact, we're designing a really cool pink barracks. And these will be not only women friendly, but designed specifically with women in mind. And so that entire ability for women to come and live on site safely and not permanently. We're looking for providing scholarships. And in fact, if you know companies that might be interested, we've signed an MOU with NEPRA already and GIK and NUST, so that if any other company wants to come in and donate and be a part of this process, we'll be educating girls through our foundation in renewables and offering them, paying for their bachelor's and offering them a full bachelor's free, and they have to work 2 years on site. So the idea is before women are 25 years old, they'll have completed 2 years of site experience. This will then enable them to go back to the city and also be fast-tracked for C-suite, not just in Pakistan, but in the region. So our plan is to engage women that way and ensure they get that site experience. There are many women in the sector in marketing and HR and social media and so forth. But even among the engineers, there are not that many in sort of the highest tier positions. So that's something we want to change with the site experience. Also, if you study the model like the Germans have recently done with Goenger, is that they have used a community-based collaborative method and a collaborative approach to their projects. So one of the things we're looking to do is have a gender inclusivity study done. So in our bankable feasibility study, there's sort of like a little spot where you can put gender inclusivity, and most people put a paragraph or two. We're actually looking to engage a more comprehensive gender inclusivity study so that it could be teaching us, guiding us, the most ways that we can incorporate women, particularly women in the area of Garo, and engage them in this project. And so what the Germans have done is very, very inspiring. But at the same time, we have to localize it to the needs of our nation. And so instead of thinking we know best, I mean, I'm an investor, I'm an industrialist, I'm not a gender inclusivity specialist in rural areas in that way. So we're going to ask people a consultant who knows it inside out, so they can guide us. and making that the most gender inclusive we're able to do at this stage.
Thank you, Ms. Lara. And I think it matters when you have this approach of bottom up, where you take the contextualize the needs of the local community and then build up the whole program. So that's great to hear. One thing that I wanted to talk about, Zubairi Saab, is that when we talk about renewable energy in the broader sector, one thing that often comes up is that from the transmission authorities is that Pakistan lacks the dedicated infrastructure to support the level of renewables penetration that in the grid. Even though there have been studying and modelings that shows that greater penetration can be allowed than even what the government has projected, but that's something that a bottleneck that is often pitched up by the transmission authorities. So that is one areas where definitely there's a need for an additional investment to make this transmission authority more robust. So when we talk about this experience of China and Chinese investment, how do you feel China and Pakistan, the government or the private sector, can work together to facilitate the development of the required grid infrastructure?
Thank you, Basisa. Let me first of all let you know that Pakistan needs to urgently implement a major expansion of the solar and wind power, renewable power, variable energy power, to achieve a share of at least 30% of the total capacity by 2030. This would help lower the cost of power, achieve greater energy security, and reduce greenhouse gas emission. However, integrating variable energy or renewable energy into the grid requires substantial investment in the transmission system, including modernization of automation and the control system. Now, in Pakistan, as you know, the NTDC is a public sector company which is responsible for the transmission of the power from the variable energy power stations, thermal power stations, nuclear power stations, hydropower stations to the distribution companies through EHV lines of 220 kV and above. The distribution companies handle transmission lines below 220 kV. NTDC started its operation in March 1999 after its unbundling from WAPDA. NEPRA granted a transmission line license to NTDC in December 2002 to carry out the transmission business for 30 years. NTDC is a public sector entity, so there are inherent problems of weak management, constraints of the financial resources. NTDC has so far not been successful in completing transmission line associated with various new power generation projects in a timely manner. In Pakistan, a lot of power generation projects have been added in recent past, but transmission system has not been augmented substantially. As a result, generation is not optimally being utilized. Due to weak transmission system, load shedding is being carried out in various parts of the country. Furthermore, country experienced completely blackout in the past few years. The wind power projects which are in operation in the south are sometimes subjected to curtailments due to the transmission system constraints. The government of Pakistan is planning to add large quantum of cheap renewable energy projects, which includes solar and wind projects in the next 5 to 10 years. Hence, there is a dire need of augmenting NTDC transmission system. NTDC lacks financial resources and has limited technical and managerial skills. Hence, it is suggested that to supplement NTDC efforts, Chinese investors should come forward and construct new transmission lines and grid stations in the private sector and provide technical support in related matters. To encourage investors to participate in the transmission line projects, GOP has already announced a transmission line policy 2015. The policy document 2015 enshrines all concession and incentives which has been provided to the investors for the development of transmission line and grid projects. The 878 kilometers 660 kV HVDC line, Matiari Lahore transmission line, has recently been completed by State Grid Corporation of China in private sector. Under Transmission Line Policy 2015, the line has completed well in time and at a cost approved by the regulator. Since now Pakistan has a track record of successfully developing transmission lines in private sector under Transmission Line Policy 2015, hence more transmission lines and grid system be developed by private sector so that NTDC transmission and grid system be augmented and upcoming renewable energy projects can be fully utilized. I suggest that Chinese investors should look forward for the opportunities available for the development of the transmission lines in private sector and develop new transmission lines in Pakistan. The concessions and incentives provided in the GOP Transmission Line Policy 2015, the success story of Matiari Lahore transmission line be disseminated to Chinese investors and all their queries, issues be addressed so that Chinese investors develop more transmission line projects in Pakistan. One possible way that Chinese and Pakistan government can work together to facilitate development of the required grid infrastructure is through China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which aims to forge greater regional connectivity through infrastructure development, especially in energy and transportation sector. Nearly 75% of the generation capacity of CPEC projects is coal-fired, which is not environmentally sustainable and not be economically competitive compared to variable energy, renewable energy projects. So therefore, a shift in focus from the coal to renewable energy within the CPEC could benefit both countries by reducing carbon emission, saving cost, and enhancing energy security. China could provide financing, technical assistance for upgrading Pakistan grid network to accommodate more renewable energy projects. China and Pakistan companies can form joint ventures to develop and operate grid infrastructure projects. This can help to transfer of the technology and expertise while also creating local employment and economic development. The Chinese and Pakistan governments can also work together to coordinate policies related to renewable energy and grid infrastructure. This can help to create a more favorable regulatory environment for investment in grid infrastructure and renewable energy projects. Such collaboration can also create opportunities for both countries to strengthen their economic and political ties while contributing to global efforts to address climate change. Thank you very much, Basit.
Thank you, Zubair Saab. Thank you for comprehensively sharing your views around the point. And we definitely need some major overhaul, as you pointed out, in terms of transmission and distribution lines. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, Mr. Ma, is that within the renewable energy, we have options of solar and wind, and the government has recently announced its plan for adding 10 gigawatt of solar this year and intends to deploy it more at an accelerating space. And they've also adopted solar fast track framework guidelines. With primary focus on solar right now, how do you see the role of wind in upcoming electricity market of Pakistan?
Okay, Basit. Yeah, I also heard about this plan. Government is planning to have a target of solar for 10 gigawatt. You know, as a wind sector people, of course I am not. I don't like this very well because yeah. But you know, to be honest, wind and solar. If a country, a system to consider to develop which energy, actually I think it's basically it's two aspects need to consider. One is from technical, the other one is from the cost. You know, both wind and solar energy are a main part of renewable energy. But you know, we can't rely on single one, either solar or wind, because both wind and solar have their own unique advantages and challenges. Wind energy is more consistent in areas with high wind speed, where solar energy is more consistent in area with a lot of sunlight. So for example, wind energy can be produced for whole year in high wind season and low wind season. And solar can be produced at its peak, especially in summer. And by combining these two sources of energy, we can create a more stable and reliable energy system that can meet the energy demands of a wide range of situations. Another important factor to consider is when determines the ideal energy mix of solar and wind is a capacity factor, which is a ratio of actual energy output of a renewable energy system to its maximum potential output. Solar panels typically have lower capacity factor than wind turbines. Means solar panel can produce energy for a few hours per day, but the wind turbine can produce energy double than that. So efficiency of wind energy is on a higher side. Therefore, the mix of solar and wind energy can help maximize the overall capacity factor and efficiency, and optimize the economic benefit of the renewable energy. I think government and grid company, grid system need to consider the demand curve and the supply curve. This is very important for the grid system stability. You cannot rely on one energy, especially renewable energy has this characteristics, not consistent. And the other thing is from cost aspect. And actually in the past 2 years, or from now on, if we see next 3 years, wind energy technology, I think, has a higher potential to be lowered. I mean, the cost of the product, actually, finally, it's the cost of energy has a big potential to be lowered. For example, there are several ways to lower the cost. For wind turbine, individual capacity of wind turbine right now is bigger and bigger, which can significantly lower the cost of wind LCOE. We were using 1.5 megawatt turbine several years ago, but in the future we can use 6 megawatts, 7 megawatt, even bigger turbine. So in this case, some of the related cost could be solved, including logistic cost, civil work cost, and erection and installation cost, etc., could be lower. So this is about another thing, cost. We need to later find out which is more competitive from cost perspective. I think government of Pakistan should create a balance which can help the country to produce more stable and sustainable energy system, because Pakistan has a potential for both wind and solar, and should utilize these resources together. Thank you, Basit.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ma. And you rightly said we need to focus on both the technologies at this time. So we had more questions, but I'm going to wrap it up here because we have a lot of questions from the panelists as well, and I wanted to address those to the panelists as well. So before moving on to the Q&A session, we have been joined by Honorable Chairman of NEPRA, Mr. Tausif Farooqi, who has joined us today to share his thoughts about the topic. Chairman Saab, welcome to this webinars. So we have been discussing a lot about the areas of potential collaboration between China and Pakistan, and removing particularly the barriers that the project developer faces during the whole project development process in the renewable energy. So if you can share your thoughts on the matter, that would be great. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, thank you very much for having me today. It's a very interesting topic, and one that has really contributed a lot recently in Pakistan's power sector, that is the CPAC projects. And we have now more than 9,300 megawatts, all Chinese investment, more than 20 billion US dollars. And there are more than 20 projects. Most of them are generation projects, including hydro, including imported coal-based projects, which we are trying to sort of do blending with the local coal. And we are also very upbeat about the potential of Chinese investments in the renewable energy sector. And I must say that there are a few things that I would like to definitely highlight about Pakistan. Pakistan has the youngest population. More than 60% of our population is less than 35 years of age, and more than 30% of our population is less than 15 years of age. And our per capita consumption is very, very low, 450 kilowatts. In Europe, it is almost 5,500. In US, it is probably around 10,000 something. So the point I'm trying to make is with a younger population and with the population growth in Pakistan, and with a very low per capita consumption, the direction that we are supposed to go is only up. So there's a huge potential in Pakistan. We are the 5th largest country population-wise in the world. So skies are the limits. Pakistan has huge potential. The other day, I was reading a study which was saying that Pakistan alone has almost 192,000 megawatts of solar potential. Our irradiation factor, the worst is better than the best of Europe. So we have a huge potential. Similarly, we have a huge, potential for wind energy as well, because we have 2 or 3 very known wind energy corridors whereby we can generate. I don't have any number with me, but so far we have only 2,345 megawatts of solar and wind, which is, I would say, peanuts compared to the potential we have. Our overall market size is about 43,775 megawatts, whereas last year's total peak was 32,800 something. So few initiatives that I have taken to strengthen the regulatory regime of Pakistan, because I have heard it from many corridors that Pakistan has very advanced regulatory framework, especially compared to many developing countries, which is like more of a comparable countries to Pakistan. We are far ahead. I mean, in Europe, they are trying to, in Africa, they are trying to come up with regulatory regime, which has been there in Pakistan for so many years. We have a history of tariff. We started with the upfront tariff, and these regimes are directly proportional to the requirement or your desperation level for electricity. But when we got little stabilized, we started giving cost plus tariff. And now very recently, because before joining as chairman NAPRA, I was in Abu Dhabi for 20 years, and the only way of expanding capacity that I am experienced of is basically comparative bidding. So that's what I suggested to the government, and government is very upbeat about it. They put it in the recent ARE policy. And now we have the comparative bidding. Very first comparative bidding will inshallah happen hopefully next month. 27 of this month is the last date for the collecting the RFPs or for submitting the RFPs, I believe. So this is first 600 megawatts plant that we envisage to put solar on the comparative bidding basis. Few interventions that I did try to bolster the power sector of Pakistan. I brought IGCEP, Indicative Generation Capacity Expansion Plan, which is basically nothing but a scientific way of expanding capacity. So what we are doing is, for the last 2 years back, we got very first IGCEP 1 year after my joining as chairman NAPRA. So now we are trying to do a demand-based supply capacity expansion system. And we just a couple of months back, we approved the second IGCEP. So IGCEP is basically taking a sort of count of our future expansion plans based on which is a demand-driven supply system, and it is supposed to be inshallah updated every year with the changing circumstances or ground realities and economic situations. So we have kept almost 13,000 megawatts of solar and wind in the next 10 years. So this year we approved year 2022 to 2031 IGSAP. Last year we approved 2021 to 30. So this next year, inshallah, we are going to approve the IGSAP, which is going to be for again next 23 32, but it is also going to include the TSAP, the transmission system expansion planning. So that is a huge again change, because previously we were growing like jungle bushes. There was no scientific planning per se in our capacity expansion. So now, not only on the generation side, but also on the transmission side, we are coming up with the plan. And these are based on the distribution company's demand. So as I already said, it's going to be a demand-driven supply-based system. I also brought a new initiative in Pakistan whereby it is called CTBCM, Competitive Trading Contracts Bilateral Market. What it means is basically we have opened up the wholesale market in Pakistan, 1 megawatt and above. Anybody who's interested to buy and sell more than 1 megawatt, they absolutely don't need to come to NAPRA for the generation license or tariff approval. They can do their bilateral contract, and then we can register them. And so basically trying to give a chance to the private sector to basically make a difference in the way we have been operating the power industry of Pakistan. Because I also graduated from Columbia Business School, and one thing that I learned is it's not government's business to do business. So I would like to bring as much as possible private sector investment and knowledge base, so as to modernize this sector as well as bring fresh blood. Because despite, as you would have probably heard, despite COVID, our private sector did a fantastically well, and their financials were very commendable, I would say, considering the menace of this epidemic. So we would like to do exactly the same thing, give a chance to the private sector, so that all the projects under the government sovereign guarantees, we should get away from them, and we should try to bolster the private sector investment there. There's an energy, International Energy Agency. As per their estimate, in the last 10 years, China has invested more than $758 billion US, sorry, in the renewable energy sector. So Pakistan has a lot, let me repeat, to benefit from our all-time tested friend, China, in this RE front as well. We are already very grateful to them for bringing so much investment, more than $20 billion US in setting up more than 10,000 or close to 10,000 megawatts, and the Pak Matiari transmission line, which is around 826 kilometer DC line, and first time in Pakistan. So I believe there's a huge potential out there for the Chinese companies, not only to invest in the RE sector, which is again the skies are the limits, because Pakistan has probably learned the hardest way possible. We had our current reliance on more than 60% of our generation mix is on imported fuel. For example, when I came to Pakistan about 3.5 years back, imported coal was around $50 per ton. It went as high as $450 per ton. So the price internationally was increased by 9 times, and the rupee has become almost half. So the currency we are buying it is in dollars. So my simple mathematics tell me the price of input cost was increased by 18 times. So how on earth we can have electricity sale price in some reasonable level if our input cost is going to go that high? And then there were supply chain interruptions as well. Then there were many other challenges, and most important challenge is the environmental cost, actually, because in Pakistan, and historically, we were not actually coming up with any scientific calculations to gauge the environmental impact. So if I believe, if I make all the variables equal, still on an environmental front, the RE projects have such a substantial advantage, or what is the right word? I mean, there's no comparison between, let's say, carbon-based, carbon fuel-based projects, or decarbonization of, through RE. So I personally believe Chinese friends have a lot to basically benefit from the potential that we have in Pakistan. As I said, not only in the RE side, but also on the distribution company side, because we intend to eventually privatize all our distribution companies, and we have to modernize all our transmission infrastructure as well, because we are lucky. Pakistan is the first country in the region to have adopted the IPP model. The very first IPP we had, HUBCO, was in 1994, I believe. And most of the countries in this part of the world, they embraced IPP model much later. So it would have probably continued with the WAPDA original plan of the unbundling and the privatization of IPPs and maybe transmission business as well. We would have probably been in a much better situation right now. I would not only paint a very green, situation on ground. The situation is tough. Pakistan is going through a tough economic situation right now. We have challenges on payments of all the IPPs, but the solution to all this is basically inducting the cheapest possible energy to replace with the most expensive electricity. Because even if we let's say go with the solar or wind, and the tariff comes out to be maybe 3-ish cents, because the latest RFP, the cap that we have given a benchmark tariff is 3.41 cents per kilowatt hour. So which is close to, let's say, maybe 10 rupees or 11 rupees. So 11 rupees is far cheaper than the energy cost. I'm not talking about the capacity payment. I'm only talking about the energy component of various projects, IPP projects, especially those which are on imported fuel, which are more than 60% of the total generation base, actually. So if our solar or wind is less than half, the tariff, then it makes perfect sense that we, because capacity is a sunk cost for us, we keep on making the capacity payments to those plants. And instead of giving them dispatch, we capitalize on the cheapest sources of electricity, which we know is not for 24 hours in a day. So we invariably need on other projects as well, for which the imported fuel is expensive. But for that period when we don't have the cheapest electricity available. So in general, in the world, the greenest, cleanest, and neatest thing is also most expensive. But thanks to the advent of technology, that RE projects, especially solar and wind, they are the neatest, cleanest, and greenest, but also the cheapest projects as well. So high time that we capitalize on that. It's not an option, it's a must for Pakistan. And I believe Chinese friends, as if they always stood with us, shoulder to shoulder. This is a high time that we both capitalize on the friendship. And I'm not only trying to appease their good self purely on the brotherly relationships, but there's a lot of commercial sense into it, because they have the technology, they have the financial muscle as well. So they are in a perfect situation to invest in Pakistan. So I welcome all my Chinese friends to come to Pakistan and explore the possibility of different areas, which includes hydro, which includes thermal on the local third coal, because we have 175 billion tons of reserves there. So we need to capitalize on that as well. But then we have a huge potential on the RE side, both solar as well as wind. And let me also mention transmission lines. The whole transmission infrastructure needs to be wrapped up, and not to forget the distribution. Again, there's a huge potential out there. So with this, I close my talk, and if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to respond. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tausif Sir. Thank you for listing down all the opportunities for the Chinese stakeholders as well. So we are going to move into the Q&A session. I see there are a lot of questions by our attendees for our panelists. And I can see that most of them are for the Shah Jahan Saab and the AEDB, but I think he had to leave earlier due to his another commitment. So what we will be doing is sharing all these questions in writing with the AEDB. So I will take all the rest of the questions for the panelists and the chairman Saab. So I'm going to start off from Ms. Tara. I think this is something that you can, since you have an experience in both solar and wind a little bit. So there's a question around hybrid projects of wind and solar parks. So do you see any such potential for hybrid projects? And I'm going to add a little bit on that by myself, is if you can just also focus a little bit on the off-grid project development. So off-grid solar and excess potential in Pakistan.
So one of the things that have been happening more and more is that there's options for everyone. So of course, there is a potential in each of these areas as long as you can get the project off the ground. Certainly, hybrid projects make the most sense, and solar and wind complement each other so much because their equipment fits nicely together and they balance each other timing wise. So there's absolutely a strong potential for that. The project we're doing is two separate companies. Hydro China Daud Wind Power has the wind, and Ladies Fund Energy has the solar. So they're not combined into one entity nor into one space that way. But otherwise, there's a great potential for this. And in terms of off-grid, certainly those options are becoming more and more. And what we spoke about earlier about the German project and that collaborative project of surrounding areas is an example of one that can be designed to be more for the community. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. And next question, I think, is for the chairman, Saab. So there's a question. What are the plans for auctions being carried out for the category 3 RE projects? They were promised quick auctions, but they have been waiting for many years now.
Yeah, in fact, our commitment to category 3 projects was that we already gave the generation license as well as tariff to 12 or 13 of such projects. But the government didn't agree with that because they said energy policy, new ARE policy requires them to be on comparative bidding, even though the tariff was very attractive, what NAPRA gave between 3.2 to 3.7 cents per kilowatt hour. So in fact, we have already raised it with the authorities, and we really we want to see those auctions as soon as possible. But I personally believe government is awaiting this very first auction of the 600 megawatts to be finalized first before they embark on the new auctions, because they would like to definitely develop the learning curve, have the experience of very first auction on the solar in Pakistan. So I don't blame them. Let them go through this, and I believe I can see Zubairi Saab. I believe we will have interested parties for this RFP, and they will make it successful. And based on that, I'm quite sure the other projects, the category 3 ones, they will also be auctioned. So I don't have any date for that with me.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Saab. So next question is for Mr. Ma. So there's a question that local people engagement is very appreciable. However, there needs to be focus on skilled people within this whole RE land journey. So how Goldwind is focusing on integration of local talent and equipment in its processes?
Okay, thank you, Basit. Yeah, we are actually the employee. What we are have right now, from different level. Some of them are just graduated, so we are providing the services for a different level of new employee who joined Goldwind. And for example, for the employee just graduated, we are providing the very first level training to let them know the skills. You know, mainly the skills, the training, what we are providing is how to operation and maintenance of the wind turbine. But this is not all. We are also providing some knowledges about the wind industry, both in China and international. We would like to our employee have a comprehensive knowledges about the industry, because they are our and from the other aspect, every year we have a plan. We will have a group of new employees come back to China, to our headquarters, to participate in the training, including theoretical training and the training in factory and in wind farm, to make sure they can master the skills of operation and maintenance. The target is to, we would like to make our Pakistan team as a talent tank of Pakistan to serve our project, not only in the country, hopefully more and more countries in the world globally. So this is our target. So based on this, we are in Pakistan market, we are providing a fully comprehensive services to our customer for a long-term services, including people, spare parts, make sure our turbine can be reliable operation for the 25 years lifetime. Thank you, Basit.
Thank you, Mr. Ma. And next question is for Chairman Saab. So what is the current situation in Pakistan regarding the electricity payment performance of IPP investors? How can Pakistan government, ministry, the grid company and central bank ensure the recovery of IPP electricity bills in terms of future renewable investment, especially considering Pakistan's insufficient reserves?
Yeah, what we have done in the recent RFP, that we have given put up a escrow account whereby the money coming directly from the discos will be remitted to this new project first. So they are I believe that because these are going to be the cheapest projects, government would like to attract them, and for that Shahjahan Mirza Sahab would have probably explained it better. But this is the policy they have made, so that the new ones will not have any issues. As I've already touched earlier in my discussions, that yes, the existing ones have challenges, and it is all because of the liquidity situation in Pakistan. But we are expecting that hopefully the difficult time has already passed, and we are going to have better cash flows, and government is probably making good profitability through coal prices and all that. So I believe their cash flows will be better, and definitely the first priority would be to settling the payments of the international financiers. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tausif Sab. Next question is for Mr. Zubairi. I think you can probably share some insights on this. Why solar panel manufacturing plant cannot be built in Pakistan? 100% made in Pakistan solar panel, as after the dollar issues, solar panels have price have jumped more than 100%, which is not feasible to import the panels.
Thank you, Mr. Basit. Government is basically seriously thinking to manufacture solar panels in Pakistan. For that, a policy has already been drafted by AEDB and EDB, Engineering Development Board and Alternate Energy Development Board. And this policy is under discussions. As soon as the policy is approved, the investors know the incentives and concessions. And you know, China is the big market of the solar panels. 80% of the solar panels around the world are manufactured in China. In China, there are 5 or 6 leading manufacturers. So if the policy is in place and they know the incentives and concessions which are available, the Chinese basically manufacturers will join hands with the local companies and manufacture solar panels, because in Pakistan also demand is tremendous, as solar government is a very ambitious plan to basically bring 10,000 megawatts of solar projects, replacing this oil-based basically power generation. So there is a demand there, and obviously there is special economic zones have been created, in which also there are a lot many incentives. The manufacturers can develop the industries for the manufacture of the solar panels there. So a lot of opportunities are available, and I think once the policy is there, then a lot many Chinese manufacturers will come in Pakistan and manufacture solar panels, and in that way we will get a cost-effective solar panels in Pakistan. Thank you.
If you allow, let me also chip in. When I came,
Sure,
joined as
please do.
chairman NAPRA, I tried with some top companies to actually come and set up local manufacturing of solar plants. Their issue was only one. They wanted a guaranteed business that give us a guaranteed business of at least 1,000 or 2,000 megawatts per year. But the issue is that with the advent of technology and with the new energy policy, we are moving towards competitive bidding. So as per the very definition of competitive bidding, it is going to be based on competition. So we cannot give any guaranteed business to anybody. It was probably possible earlier, but not now. So that's the reason they are probably having a wait and see policy. Once they are going to see that there's a likelihood of potential business there, I'm quite sure businesses, when the market forces are allowed to make their own decisions, they always go for the best decision for their business. So I'm quite hopeful this is going to happen, and probably happen sooner than later.
Thank you, Chairman Saab. And actually, there is another question for you, Chairman Saab. So it's at current LIBOR rates, a 3.4 cent tariff, I think they're mentioning towards the 600 megawatt, is not possible. The number was derived when rates were significantly lower and tariff has not been revised despite the inflation and monetary tightening. Is NEPRA planning on reviewing the ceiling tariff given current market conditions and country risk?
No, I think we gave this RFP about a couple of months back. There are not many changes in the ground realities. We have not considered today's rate of LIBOR. We have taken a 25-year cycle, and based on that, we have calculated generally the LIBOR doesn't go beyond 2% in 25 years, slot. So we are quite hopeful, and those who will be able to have comparatively cheaper financing, they will definitely be able to beat these targets. And the best thing about RFP is that the upside is yours. If you bring cheaper financing, like I know, for example, JBIC, they offer very cheap financing. Many governments, they offer very cheap financing. If you bring cheaper financing, the upside is yours. You save money from whatever number we have given. If you save on O&M, the upside is yours. If you save on EPC, whatever we have calculated, because what we have calculated are the market prices. If you come up with a better negotiation or deals on the O&M, EPC, or this financing, all the upsides are yours, no questions asked. So I personally believe there is not much fat in this RFP, but there's enough juice, and I'm quite sure those who have the appetite, they will definitely make good money out of it.
Thank you, Chairman Saab. And I think we have a question from Mr. Azhar Lashari. So it's regarding the transparency within the overall engagement with Chinese on different power projects. Ms. Sarah, you have worked with Chinese, so if you could just share some light on this. So will the Chinese banks and companies supporting RE projects in Pakistan be open, transparent, and accountable in the governments? So that's something that you can share some light, because most of the engagements with the Chinese counterpart, as we understand, are somewhat not openly available for the public.
So we've had a very warm and happy collaborative experience with the Chinese. So I think I'll leave my answer at that.
Okay, that's fine. Tasi Sab, yes, please, sir.
Let me also chip in.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know about what is the background of this question, but in NAPRA, every thing that happens, that is very much in public domain. We have hearings, we have public hearings, so everybody is encouraged. We advertise in the newspapers. So, and whatever information comes, that is in the public domain. So I think it is highly transparent. So I don't know why, and nobody is basically, they are not pushing us to get financing forcefully. Only once we believe that these projects are economically viable, we go for these projects. So I personally believe that at least in NAPRA's process, everything is quite transparent.
All right, thank you so much, Chairman Saab. And I think we are done with most of the questions here on the chat box. The remaining one we'll be sharing with the government counterparts at AEDB. And we'll also be sharing a policy brief after this webinar with all our esteemed panelists and with the authority as well, so that we can generate recommendations out of this initiative and the discussion that we have had today. So once again, everyone, the esteemed panelists, Chairman Saab, Ms. Tara, Mr. Zuberi, Mr. Ma, and everyone who has joined us from Pakistan and as well as from the overseas, and the COAEDB as well. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Basit.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye bye.